Okay, so we have a new episode of Legends and Leaders, and today it's great to have Mario here. Mario, you're the co-founder of SingularityDAO, the CFO of SingularityNET. You've been really forward-thinking when it comes to blockchain and making blockchain something that's more useful, more mainstream, taking advantage of what decentralized finance can offer. And now you've been really leading with AI and working towards the goal of superintelligence using the collective power of blockchain and the people there. And you've built up you kind of did a major merger recently too. It's helped kind of spearhead this movement in the space. I'm excited to have you here and to get into your story.
Thank you, Ben. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So how did your interest in, the world of business leadership, blockchain, technology, like merging these all together, how did that passion happen?
Yeah, so I come from traditional finance. I studied finance and I started my career in investment banking in 2011. So it was interesting times. I was US banks, but European markets. So, graduated in 2007, so just before the crisis, then 2011, 2012, sovereign debt crisis, 2015, Dieselgate, a whole bunch of things. And we lived so I basically operated in the zero interest rate environment for all of my career. Again, working for larger corporations, it was quite empowering and interesting being young to see how economies work. You're really kind of behind the curtains and you're 20 something being thrown, big numbers, doing transactions, multi-billion dollars here and there. After a while, after a few years, I've kind of always had this approach of, trying to make things better and looking for innovation. And I realized how strong the establishment is in terms of, in so many ways, but most important for me was in terms of culture and perspective, personal and professional growth. So I've always found myself, working over time and building new models and pitching new ideas. And even at the mid seniority or higher seniority level, it wasn't always met with proactivity or even good feelings, because some people think you're working harder to try to overstep. The system is comfortable where it is. It can extract all the fees that it needs to extract. And so I grew a little bit resentful of that. And I was in London for a good amount of my TradFi career. And so there was a quite active tech scene, fintech scene, and I was looking for, other innovators and ideas to see if something could be done in capital markets to start, because that's where I was coming from. And I was lucky enough by a friend that is completely not in the space in 2016 to discover Ethereum. Obviously, I did come to know Bitcoin before, but I didn't click because I stayed more on a payment system while I was looking for more, maybe structured finance solutions. And what made me click was Ethereum and, smart contract, composable money, programmable money. And by understanding how blockchain works and how smart contracts can be used, I just kind of opened a new world almost immediately. So how I started was first actually launching a community in London with the London Met University. And there was we were very, very few back then. So it had quite a good pickup. And through that, I started having my first connections in the space. The thesis was still relevant today. It was the convergence of TradFi and DeFi. Even DeFi didn't exist back then, but and I went on a whole journey towards education first, bringing the people from the two worlds together and talk to each other. It's not cats and dogs. We're actually working on the same things in different ways, and ultimately, at some point in the future, we would converge and work together towards building a new system, which is what is happening today, and what will continue to happen in the next, future. So yeah, that's how I started. And then I was lucky enough through connections and friends to, first get active in the space and, by a couple of transactions in the entertainment space, and then deals, involved in primary markets mostly, and financial engineering, structuring, and tokenomics. And then, towards Q3 2020, I was reached out by the SingularityNET peeps, and worked on SingularityDAO and SingularityNET.
Mhm. So what did you think was like the potential of Singularity DAO initially? Like, why did you get so interested in building this type of DAO with them?
Yeah, right. So actually, and interestingly, at the later stages of the community that I launched, it was at that point maybe Q2 2018, so a bit late in the market, but um, I was presenting an idea which was, kind of decentralized on-chain vaults with a governance tokens and revenue redistribution, and that's where I left it. When Ben came to me with the idea of SingularityDAO, that's actually what it was. So they were looking for validation, whether it makes sense or improvements, and how to make it, tech into business and product market fit. That's Q3, Q4 2020. I was like, well, yeah, it does. And I just felt that strong immediate connection, a little bit of serendipity, and said, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. It democratizes access to, complicated things. Complicated things in crypto are still a lot right now, right? So it goes from, security, UX, ability of managing assets, ability to manage risks. And since 2017 to today through 2021, 2022, and every time there's so many examples of how important it is to be able to manage your assets in a safe way. Tooling is very important. Integration, infrastructure is really important. Security is really important. But ultimately, what our consumer sees is the front end and the UX, the exposure. So we want to reduce those barriers while providing sophisticated back-end tools for all of the above. We want to offer an easy-to-use experience for users so that those barriers are reduced, mitigated, and possibly removed.
Mhm. And how much do you see AI disrupting the blockchain world now? Like, do you see it being this really transformative force, and how so? How are you trying to implement it?
Yeah, AI is disrupting everything. And the thing that I find is that the two words on this, being the AI and blockchain space, are a perfect match for each other, right? I'm of the impression and of the thesis that, sure, you can tokenize everything. Most of it makes sense. Much of it is hard to do and will take time. Regulation, liquidity, and all sorts of challenges to clear. Once you look at how to tokenize something, you need to look at what kind of asset you are looking into. And the first big branch of decision making is it a digital asset or is it a physical asset? With AI, you can argue that it's both a physical and a digital asset, because if you look at the AI tech stack, you start from hardware and compute, but you move into the digital world right away. And this is a completely new economy. Wrong. It's not a completely new economy, but it's about to create changes horizontally to many economies. And the way that is happening is one that is perfect for distributed networks, decentralized networks, distributed incentive systems, and that is true on a value alignment culture perspective as well as an economical perspective. So obviously the AI revolution is unstoppable, and like for finance and other things, is on traditional markets very strongly concentrated in a few hands. Entry barriers are really high. The sunk cost of research is almost infinite, hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars and decades before getting to a certain point. That creates a situation in which, again, the concentration of data, ownership, economics is very skewed, and exacerbates that polarization of economy that we're seeing in everything that in all economies, macro and micro economies, in the first world in particular. Adding blockchain and distributed incentive systems in this with the ability of creating distributed network, we are able to first decentralize networks, maybe more efficient, maybe not, but definitely it's a better way of creating incentive systems and reward systems that really reward all the stakeholders of the value chain in a better way. And also it goes and tries to tackle ownership, intellectual property situations, which are also extremely centralized and very, very old style in traditional markets. So the combination of the two can make for a very powerful revolution, and that's our thesis, and that's how we behave, and that's how we help companies and ecosystem build. So AI is happening, blockchain is happening, but the two combined are, to me, it's the first time that I really see doing something very meaningful in terms of size and impact to the world coming out of the blockchain space. And possibly a second there could be gaming, but that's a whole other discussion.
And Mario, why did you want to make this like super intelligence alliance to go and really further this? Like, why was it so important to have that alliance?
Yeah, as I've just been outlining, the challenge is huge, and the resources for that are the needed resources for that are almost infinite and hard to comprehend or assess. So we are a very hard vision-led ecosystem in SingularityNET with Ben Gorsel's vision of decentralized benevolent artificial general intelligence, which is a vision that he's had for over 20 years and that has now become mainstream because people are realizing that is something that is very important for everyone's life and for the future of humanity. So we've always, moved forward and behaved like that. But as we kind of garner success, especially 2023 and afterwards, and other leaders in the space, such as Fetch and Ocean, were rising and standing up from the crowd, we obviously kind of knew each other and had partnerships before, but we kind of realized, first of all, if the challenge is so big, it's better together. And second of all, if you look at a tech stack level, once we reach a certain level of success on our own expertises, we will then need to go find partners to fix or improve or integrate what the others are doing. And so if you're building an AI agent framework, you need a data layer. If you want to decentralize it, you need a layer one. If you want to be ahead of the curve and try to build ASI, you need research, AGI research and ASI research. So what we felt is that by combining forces, we would, and integrating tech stacks and visions and missions, we would be in a much stronger position to try to tackle the ambitious mission that we have and increase the success of our vision.
Mm-hmm. And it became what, like a $6 billion token merger?
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, that's right.
Wow. So people really
that was. Yeah, of course. I mean, even that, right? That by itself has made the message more powerful just by increased awareness. We're seeing this a lot. People know Ben, people know Sophia the robot, which is IP of the ecosystem. People knew SingularityNET. Sometimes they wouldn't be able to, stitch things together, and it would be more on a brand basis than on a vision basis. Now, as we combined, the transaction itself is trend setting, right? There had been somewhat, maybe acquisitions more, but only very few, and nothing of this type. So we kind of showed, I've always believed that consolidation would come. I thought back in 2021 that it would be coming from layer ones and from DeFi, because everything is mostly people replicating similar models on different chains and then kind of onboarding communities, but it creates fragmentation. And instead, we found ourselves leapfrogging all of this and coming to it from the side of tech, which is a very powerful leapfrog. And so, the transaction, we try to keep it as simple as possible, which was the case. Then the execution and the logistics of it, a lot of learnings and findings along the way. And obviously now we just announced a few weeks ago that the Kudos has joined the family, which is a smaller token, but we're also showing how we can tactically use the tools that we've built, the network and execution capabilities that we have to grow the family further, and in a much in a very seamless way. And I also believe that there are others now considering this, because it's been a validation for the market, and many running network upgrades or forks and realizing how complicated that is and using us as a case study for success.
Mm-hmm. Do you see there being future applications with SingularityDAO and Sophia the robot?
Well, sure, yes. SingularityDAO has accelerated Sophia Verse, which is the Web3 manifestation of Sophia the robot. Sophia the robot was the first kind of mainstream humanoid robot, and it's still possibly one of the strongest brands in the space. Technology is advancing very fast, and billions and trillions are getting deployed. Billions are getting deployed there, not trillions yet. So things are evolving, but there's, when people think about AI and robotics, there's a lot of fear, of uncertainty of are they taking over or not. Sophia is that carries our vision of decentralized benevolent AGI, and is that relatable face that has always kind of created a more positive relationship with this sort of innovation. And what we want to do is bring this to the Web3 world, which we're doing with Sophiaverse, and we're doing it in a way that, again, we want to establish the relationship between the user, the developer, and the AI in a fun and engaging way, and with the right incentive system and economics. So imagine what I was saying earlier of creating a distributed system where data is shared, owned by yourself or by the contributors. So what we're doing with Sophia as the next iteration in Web3 and the digital world is gamifying that experience and creating mini economic systems where people can be incentivized for learning with, teaching to, or learning from AI.
Mm-hmm. I think that's definitely a good step to help get this space more mainstream adopted. It's still not there yet. How do you see that fully happening? Making blockchain a part of people's lives every day.
Yeah. So I mean, we've made a lot of promises through the years, and we've started to fulfill some of them. But in many ways, we're still at the infrastructure level. So as I was saying earlier, at SingularityDAO, one of SingularityDAO's value propositions is that reducing those entry barriers. And so we're really looking at, reducing the fragmentation of the experience and allowing people to get onboarded more easily. What does that mean? We're still looking at improved wallets, security, custody, payments. So we need to build a financial infrastructure for people to be able to use crypto without even realizing that they're crypto. It should be akin to money, and obviously it's better money than money because it's borderless, it's seamless, it's cheap to use, and it's instant settlement, among other things. So that's number one, and that's true for everything that we do. The second piece is integrating it into existing mainstream applications, also in a seamless way. And so that's why I mentioned two spaces, one being AI, because it will be ubiquitous. And so by being able to inject distributed networks and tokenomics model into AI, by nature it will spread out. A lot of it will be machine to machine, agent to agent. The consumer will only see it at the end, but economically it will be super powerful. The second sector that has a lot of potential and a lot of challenges is gaming, because by nature gaming is a more innovative style, digital-based space and framework. And again, obviously gamers are really focused on the experience itself. To the extent that we don't, create frictions there are huge opportunities in onboarding Web3 on the gaming economy. For all intents and purposes, gaming has been tokenizing economies for such a long time. You have gems, bronze, gold, silver, points, levels. That's all very much akin on to tokenized economies. Obviously there's also very strong incentives to do that, because again, you build your own account on a single game and maybe you spend tens of thousands of dollars or $1,000 or whatever, and then you leave and it's gone. So also that level of ownership of your identity and experience and assets that you've earned through the experience is a strong incentive. And obviously the gaming community is huge and young, so a good cultural fit. Similarly, on all things entertainment, so I imagine, social fi and social media, kind of very similar topics to gaming. So where are the masses? Finance, entertainment, AI and digital applications, and B2B and B2B2C services. And I would look into where people are, where the youngest subset of the population is, and how prone they are to innovation and to accepting some of the compromises that come from crypto. A good example of this that is most recent is definitely, what Telegram has been doing, with, good and bad, but it's a strong statement to showing how by simply integrating a wallet into an app that is used by 1 billion people and having widgets for doing basic apps, you can get to tens of millions, hundreds of millions of users, which are numbers that were unheard of in crypto before. We can have a discussion on quality, tokenomics, risks, and all of this, a lot to improve, but it's a big statement that shows that it's not impossible.
Mm-hmm. So just the last question then, Mario, what are your short-term and long-term goals at this point? What do you want to accomplish now?
Yes, well, there's a lot to say. Short-term goals is just continue to build products, AI applications, take them to mainstream, continuously build awareness around our message, make our message in a way that it becomes bigger than us, and that becomes a movement where we want to see people in the space. We want to see people in the space are going out and synthesizing the message and starting to behave in this positive way by themselves, and possibly going beyond the space and using, the AI economy and the DeFi economy as pick locks to be able to make an impact on the world. That is short-term and long-term. It's a never-ending story. For ourselves, in terms of more strategic roadmap, in the next short-term, I'll consider the next 12 to 24 months. We want to consolidate the ASI family, continuously grow it, creating, unlocking the synergies and efficiencies that we have identified and are part of our thesis, establish ourselves as the go-to Web3 AI ecosystem with an open arms. We're the ASI Alliance, and we're always welcoming people to come and join the race and the challenge, and really start to see that virality effect also from a ecosystem growth and community perspective. And the long-term goal is create a decentralized ASI. So we've skipped AGI. AGI is already done. AGI will have the first manifestations in the next few years. I mean, Ben says 3 to 7, but it could be 5 to 20. But in our lifetime, we will have impactful AGI systems production level. And that will completely change everything. It's hard to comprehend what the impact of that will be. Already AI, what AI has done today is impressive, and clearly there's more to come at fast pace. But as soon as we reach the general intelligence level, things will completely change again. And once you move that needle up, or that challenge one step above to ASI, which is artificial superintelligence, then we really need to sit down and start talking about ground rules, ethics, and how this system should be created, because it will be global, it will be borderless, it will not care about the frictions, geopolitical, cultural frictions of our world. It will have blockchain, crypto, the internet and all the infrastructure that it needs to thrive. And so once again, it will be inevitable, and it's on us to be able to create it in a way that is beneficial and for the benefit of mankind, and not the opposite.
Well, Mario, I appreciate you taking the time and doing this. I know you've already made significant advancements to make this something that's possible for mankind, and you built this incredible alliance to really pull resources and actually get us one step closer. So I'm excited to see when that happens and how your efforts will really come to life there. And look forward to what's next. Wish you much success.
Thank you, Ben.